Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Happier Life podcast. I'm your host, Clare Deacon. After deciding survival wasn't enough, I set out on a path to live my best life. I wanted to thrive. Now I'm on a mission to support others. Think you're not good enough, confident enough, brave enough? I'm here to tell you you are, and you can achieve anything. This is your time, so let's do this. Hello and welcome back to the Happier Life podcast. I'm Clare Deacon, your guide on this journey from survival to thriving. Whether you're a long-time listener or you've just stumbled across this episode, welcome. You're exactly where you need to be. Today, we're going to unpack what self-care really looks like, whether you're in survival mode or you are ready to take on the next challenge in life. Let's start with a truth. It might feel a little radical in a world obsessed with productivity and performance. You don't need to do more. You need to do what you need. So I want to start today by asking, when was the last time you gave yourself permission to pause, to just be? And I don't mean collapsing on the sofa after a 12-hour day or finally catching your breath when you've ticked off every task on your never-ending to-do list. I mean conscious, intentional pause. One where you say to yourself, I'm stopping now because I need to. For so many of us, pausing feels uncomfortable. It feels indulgent. We've been taught to see it as a luxury, something you earn once you've accomplished enough. But here's what I've learned on my own journey. Self-care isn't a luxury, it's a lifeline. You're juggling work, family, commitments, and the never-ending mental load. And it feels like there's just no off switch. You're waiting for some magical future moment when things will settle and then you'll rest. But here's the truth. Rest isn't a reward, it's a requirement. Self-care isn't a luxury or an indulgence, it's a lifeline. And if you don't build time to recharge into your life, your body, your mind will force you to stop, usually in ways you don't want. It can be through burnout, illness, or emotional breakdowns. I know this because I've been there, and that's exactly why I created the Happya Survival Kit. We're going to talk a bit about that later. But first, let's really talk about why so many of us struggle to give ourselves that permission to pause and what happens when we don't. What self-care really means in survival mode. Let's talk about that because somewhere along the way, the idea of self-care has been watered down somewhat. It has become more about spa days, candles, and bubble baths. And whilst all of those things are lovely, they barely scratch the surface of what real self-care actually looks like. So, real self-care is about taking care of yourself whilst living and building the future you want to live. It's about facilitating your growth, creating contentment, and giving yourself the energy to show up for what really matters to you. Depending on where you are in life, and I mean this in terms of your well-being rather than life stage, self-care is going to look different. When you're feeling overwhelmed, when life is throwing everything at you, self-care might look like pausing, pulling back, and giving yourself permission to rest. But when you're feeling grounded and ready to grow, self-care looks like taking on new challenges and stepping out of your comfort zone and moving towards your dreams. The point is, self-care evolves with you. It's not just about getting through the hard times, it's about making sure you're in a position to thrive no matter what life throws your way. A lot of people think self-care is about just keeping the wheels turning, but that's the bare minimum. The goal isn't to stay stuck in that survival mode, doing the same things day in, day out, just to get by. The goal is to move beyond that, to create a life that feels meaningful, joyful, and aligned with your values. Self-care isn't about doing the basics to avoid burnout. It's about giving yourself the foundation you need to grow, evolve, and to take on new challenges. So when you're in the eye of the storm, self-care isn't about grand gestures or complicated routines. Let's start by getting real about what it means to be in survival mode. So that's the point, that feeling when even brushing your teeth feels like climbing Everest, when you're counting the hours until bedtime just so that you can give yourself permission to stop and let go, when your brain is so full of must-dos that the thought of doing anything for yourself just feels impossible. I've been there too, and I know that so many of you listening have too. Survival mode doesn't always come from one big traumatic event. It's the burnout from life's relentless demands. It's the constant juggling of work, relationships, kids, aging parents, and never feeling like you're doing enough. And the hardest part, society glorifies this. We praise people who keep going, who hustle, who push through. But no one talks about what really happens when you crash, when you're no longer surviving. You're just barely existing. When in survival, it's about small, practical steps that help you keep your footing. Things like eating a nutritious meal when you're tempted to skip it. It's about stepping away from the chaos, logging off when you've hit your limit, and upholding your boundaries to protect your well-being. It's about stabilizing yourself so that you don't get swept away by the storm. What about when the storm passes? When things start to settle and you can see the path ahead? That's when self-care evolves and ensures that you are in good shape when you must weather the next storm. It's no longer about keeping the wheels turning. It's now about giving yourself the foundation you need to grow, evolve, and take on the new challenges that you set yourself. In both cases, self-care is about giving yourself what you need. It's not a reward. It's not that indulgent. It's foundational. It allows you to live a meaningful life of contentment and fulfillment. Here's what I've seen time and time again with my clients and in my own life. When you're running on empty, it's hard to think about anything beyond survival. You're just trying to get through the day. But when you're in that place where you feel recharged, when your batteries are full, you have the capacity to grow. You have the capacity to dream, and you have the capacity to show up fully in your life. That's why self-care isn't just for the hard times, it's something you do every day. It's not about fixing what's broken, it's about creating a life that works for you, feels whole. So ask yourself, am I in the storm right now, or am I ready to grow? If you're in the storm right now, self-care might look like resting without guilt, doing less, not more, letting go of the pressure to fix everything. If you are ready to move beyond the storm, it may look more like taking on new challenges, saying yes to what excites you, exploring new ways of reconnecting with joy and purpose in your life. Either way, it's your lifeline. It's not a reward. It's not a luxury. It's what allows you to keep going, to keep growing, and keep thriving. So let's just touch on what the science is behind self-care. Why does your brain need a break? Well, the reality is when you're stressed, your brain's amygdala, the part that's responsible for detecting danger, stays on high alert. It's like a car alarm that won't switch off. The result, you're constantly in fight, flight, or freeze mode. And in this state, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for logical thinking and planning, takes a back seat. And that's why decision making feels impossible when you're overwhelmed. You're not lazy or incapable. Your brain is stuck in survival mode. You can help your brain switch gears by taking intentional moments to pause. So, one of the simplest ways to do this is through grounding techniques. So, one of those, you place your feet flat on the floor, take a deep breath in, hold for 3 seconds, and exhale slowly. Then notice 5 things you can see, 4 you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Yeah. These small acts bring your prefrontal cortex back online. It calms the amygdala and gives you the clarity to make thoughtful choices. Well, here's the thing about self-care. It's not a one size fits all. It's not about ticking off someone else's checklist of shoulds. It's about asking yourself, what do I need right now? Some days that might be a walk in nature to clear your head. Other days it might be binge watching your favorite show and doing absolutely nothing. And sometimes self care is simply letting yourself cry or take a nap. There's no right or wrong way to care for yourself as long as it's intentional and actually meets your needs. Here's the tricky part. A lot of us struggle to figure out what we need in the first place. We've been conditioned to believe that rest is lazy, that productivity equals worth, and that we need to earn the right to pause. So instead of recharging when we're tired, we keep on pushing through. We tell ourselves, I'll rest when this project is done. I'll slow down when the kids are settled. I'll take a break once everything is sorted. But you know what happens when you ignore those warning signs? Your body and mind will eventually force you to stop through burnout, illness, or emotional breakdowns. And I've learned this personally the hard way. When I was emotionally drained, it didn't just affect my mood, it impacted my physical health. I was exhausted, I couldn't sleep, I felt stuck, and I was disconnected from myself. I was at a breaking point before I just knew I had no choice to take care of myself. And once I had got myself into a place of stability, I realized how self care isn't that reward. It's an essential part of my maintenance for my well being. I can only be who I want to be, and I can only take care of those I love when I am well. So, how do you make sure you're not constantly running on empty? I've created a framework to keep your energy levels topped up, a system that considers all the different aspects of your well-being, which stretch way beyond the food on your plate, the number of hours sleep you get, etc. The Happier Survival Kit is not a crisis kit you pull out for when things go wrong. It's a framework for you to recognize all aspects of your well-being, helping you to implement a self-care regime that is personalized and relevant for you, your lifestyle, and where your well-being is right now. So it's something that can grow and adapt with you along the way, enabling you to maintain your well-being even during the storm, as well as in preparing yourself to take on board those new challenges. So, to give you some insight, the survival kit is built around four key trees, the areas of your life that need regular renewing, reviving, and replenishing. Your well-being is like a set of batteries that power your life. When one of those batteries runs low, it also affects the others too. So everything feels harder. So let's take a look at those four key areas that need regular recharging, what I call the four batteries. So the first of those is the body battery, and this is about your physical energy. Are you eating, sleeping, and moving enough to keep your energy levels stable? When this battery is drained, you will feel tired, sluggish, and run down. Self-care for your body might look like going to bed early, moving your body in a way that feels good, eating a proper meal. The next one we look at is the heart battery. This is your emotional energy. Are you processing your emotions? Are you holding on to stress or resentment? When this battery is low, you feel emotionally drained, anxious, or overwhelmed. Self-care for your heart battery might look like journaling to release and process emotions, talking to someone you trust, letting yourself really cry when you need to empty the bucket, for those of you who've worked with me. The mind battery is the next one, and this is about your mental energy. Are you giving your brain the rest and stimulation it needs to stay sharp? When this battery is low, you feel foggy, distracted, and unable to focus. Self-care for your mind might look like taking a break from social media, from screens, from doing something creative instead, practicing mindfulness to calm your thoughts. Then we have the connection battery, and this is your social energy. Are your relationships charging your battery, or are they draining you? When this battery is low, you feel disconnected, lonely, or socially exhausted. Self-care for your connections might look like spending time with people who uplift you, saying no to some social obligations that drain you, or reaching out to someone you've been missing. When one battery is drained, it affects the others too. So think about a time when you were emotionally exhausted. Did you feel physically tired as well? Probably. Or maybe another one where you were surrounded by draining social situations. Your mind may struggle to focus. That's because your well-being is interconnected. You can't ignore one battery and expect the others to keep going. In this course, I go deep into building your own happier survival kit, but here's a sneak peek to get you started. So, first of all, Audit your well-being. Ask yourself, from a physical perspective, how's your sleep, your nutrition, and your movement? From the emotional battery, am I processing my feelings or bottling them up? From your mental battery, are you giving yourself mental breaks? Then looking at your social energy, do your relationships energize you or drain you? Next, it's about choosing your recharge rituals. These are small, intentional actions that help you replenish each battery. For example, for your body, it could be a 10-minute stretch. For your emotions, it might be journaling for 5 minutes. For your mind, it could be stepping away from work for a mindful breath. For your connections, it might be texting a friend or saying no to some plans. To help you with this, I've created a free guide which offers a simple self assessment and guidance on how to get started. And you can find this at happiercoach.com/, self care. There's no right or wrong way to build your kit. What works for me might not work for you. For me, it's journaling for clarity, meditation, and tapping. These are all very natural and form part of my routine. Now, where I'm having to work harder is around my physical well-being, because when I'm stressed, this is the stuff that easily goes out the window for me. So for you, it might be something completely different. It may be that you find all of the physical activity and interaction easy, but it's more of a struggle for you to connect with those emotions and process that part of your well-being. The key is to really make it meaningful and manageable, because self-care isn't about doing more. It's about doing what you need to feel whole. Let me be clear. You don't have to wait until you're in crisis mode to use your kit to work on your well-being. In fact, the whole point of the Happya Survival Kit is to stay charged before you reach that point of exhaustion. It's about ongoing maintenance. It's about living a life that feels balanced, content, and aligned, importantly, to your values. And that's why all of those ingredients to what is your happier is unique to you. And here's the best part: you don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to get it perfect. Just start with small, consistent steps, because you are worth the time it takes to care for yourself. If you're ready to go deeper, I'd love to walk alongside you on this journey. The Happya Survival course is a personalized guide to help you build the kind of self-care routine that keeps you steady no matter what life throws at you. And you can find all the details about that at happiercoach.com/survival kit. But let's get real about something that I know many of you will be feeling: the myth of holding it all together. You know, the one, that story that we tell ourselves, that if you can just push through a little longer, everything will settle. Or I'll take a break once everything's sorted. I used to live by that myth. I thought if I just held it all together, kept saying yes, kept showing up, kept handling everything, things would get easier. And for a while it worked, until it didn't. Myth of I'll handle it. I was the queen of yes, I'll handle it. Yes to the extra work project. Yes to the school committee. Yes to being the person who always shows up, even when I was running on fumes. And you know what? People praised me for it, because that's what society celebrates: the individuals who just keep going no matter what. The one who never complains, never asks for help, and never takes a break. But here's what the people didn't see. And that was that behind the scenes, I was falling apart. I was depleted, exhausted, and completely disconnected from myself. But you can only run on those emotional fumes for so long before something gives. I want you to picture your phone. When the battery drops to 10%, what do? You plug it in, you recharge it. Now think about your own energy. When you're running low, emotionally, physically, mentally, socially, do you stop and recharge? Or do you what most of us do, and that's say, well, I'll just finish up this. I'll rest when I finish the project. I'll take a break once the kids are settled. I'll slow down when everything's sorted. But what happens when you ignore your phone's low battery warning? It shuts down. And here's the truth, you are no different. If you keep pushing without recharging, your mind and your body will eventually shut down too. Maybe it shows up as burnout. Maybe it's a health scare. Maybe you find yourself snapping at your loved ones for no reason. So, why don't we recharge ourselves the way we do our phones? Why do we keep pushing through even when we know we're running on empty? The answer to that is quite simple. We've been conditioned to believe that rest is lazy, that productivity equals worth, that we have to earn the right to pause. We live in a world that celebrates doing, achievement, hustle, productivity. There's very little praise for the woman who says, actually, I'm going to take a break. And that's a problem because if you don't pause, your body and your mind will force you to stop. I've been there. And I know many individuals who have found themselves struggling. I thought I could handle everything, the work, parenting, grief, life, admin. And I kept on going. I kept on saying yes. I kept showing up for everyone else, even when I had nothing left for myself. And then one morning, I just found I just couldn't get out of bed anymore. Not because I was lazy, not because I was weak, but because I was completely depleted. Moment changed everything for me. It made me realize something that I hadn't been taught before, and that rest isn't a reward. It's not something you earn after you've ticked everything off your to-do list. Rest is repair, rest is resilience, rest is essential. Cost of holding it all together when you constantly try to keep on doing, you don't just deplete your batteries, you start to lose connection to yourself. You're so busy doing that, you forget how to just be. You're so focused on getting through the day that you stop thinking about what you actually need. So here's what I want you to remember. You don't have to hold it together. You don't have to earn the right to pause. You wouldn't wait until your phone hits 1% to plug it in. So why wait until you're on the verge of burnout to take care of yourself? You have permission to rest, to pause, to recharge, because you can't pour from an empty cup. When you give yourself the time and space to recharge, you're not just surviving, you're building the energy to thrive. So before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. You have permission to pause. You don't have to wait for burnout, a crisis, or some magical right time to take care of yourself. You don't have to earn rest. You don't need to justify taking time for yourself. Self care isn't a reward for productivity, it's the anchor that keeps you steady in life's storms. When you take time to pause, to recharge, to meet your own needs, you're not being selfish, you're building strength, you're building resilience, and you're showing up for yourself in a way that no one else can. So if you've been wanting and waiting for permission, here it is. Pause, recharge, or reconnect, because you're not a machine. You're a human being, and you can't pour from that empty cup. Your Happya Survival Kit is a tool and framework to help you maintain that balance, to keep you grounded, supported, and whole. It's not about doing more, it's about giving yourself the care you need to thrive. So if you're ready to start that journey, I'd love to walk alongside you. You can learn more about the course, personalized way of evolving your well-being by visiting happiercoach.com survival kit. Thank you for joining me on the Happier Life podcast. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, small, consistent actions make the difference. Until next time, take care of yourself. You're worth it. If you've enjoyed this episode, ensure you hit subscribe, head on over to my website, happiercoach.com, sign up for the weekly newsletter, and let me support you in living a happier life. I'm your host, Clare Deacon. Thank you for listening. Have a fabulous day.